Deep in the heart of the wild Amazon, time itself suddenly ceases to exist forever for everyone. Every single step here is a brutal and deadly battle with nature's most treacherous nature. Hundreds of brave men have ventured into this endless green thicket, never to return. However, the famous Colonel Percy Fawcett was no ordinary or simple fortune seeker. He sincerely believed in the existence of what everyone else called madness. He dreamed of finding a lost ancient city built entirely of pure gold and stone. A mysterious city which he personally named with the simplest possible meaning, a single Latin letter, Z. In the distant year of 1925, he confidently charted his final route. Only his eldest son and his best, most loyal friend set out on this perilous journey with him. They had no vast army or guards, only their iron and powerful will. The wild Amazon never forgives mistakes and strongly dislikes strangers. Sticky blood, tropical fever, and the constant fear lurking forever behind the trees. They slowly sailed only to the place where all known maps end forever, under this vast emerald dome, reliably concealing the ancient secrets of many millennia. The local forest tribes only whispered softly of the spirits that eternally guard the ancient ruins. Their entire expedition vanished without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions. Was this legendary city real, or merely a figment of his tormented mind? The brave colonel knew for certain there would never be any turning back for him. A full 100 years later, this impenetrable jungle still carefully preserves their fragile bones. His very last words to his beloved wife were filled with sincere and inexhaustible hope. But the alien shadows in the deep forest moved much faster than he had ever expected. The last light faded. All connection with the larger world was then severed for them forever. Turbulent rivers swallowed their tracks, and dense vines erased their glorious and proud names forever. Every sharp thorn here yearns for at least one touch of hot, living flesh. People call this cursed place a true green hell, and they do so for good reason. The mysterious city of Zed became the greatest and most profound mystery of the entire 20th century. Thousands of new adventurers attempted to retrace its deadly path, and thousands of them found their final, eternal refuge in this endless forest. Today, we will follow its ancient footsteps to its bitter end. Are you ready to learn the whole truth about this terrible and mysterious place right now? At first, there were only dusty archives in Rio de Janeiro. That's where he found that old book. Fawcett accidentally discovered a forgotten report by Portuguese bandeirantes from the 18th century. It described a dead city with giant statues and walls covered in rows of strange hieroglyphs. For Percy, this was no fairy tale. This mysterious city quickly became the meaning of his life. Scientists in London arrogantly dismissed it as mere hallucinations from the intense heat. He was constantly ridiculed at meetings of this Royal Geographical Society. But Fawcett knew for certain, great discoveries are not made by those who always sit in their chairs. His eldest son, Jack, quickly became his first and truly most devoted ally. Raleigh Rymel went with them, 3 brave men against the entire wild continent. His wife, Nina, knew for certain that he might not return, but she still didn't dare stop him then. Their equipment was minimal. Percy believed that a small group would survive where an army would perish. Funds for the expedition were raised, literally crumbs through various public funds. January 1925, Port, New Jersey, the last time they would stand on terra firma. The instructions were clear. If we don't return, do not send any rescue expeditions. Fawcett sensed his fate. He implored the entire world to forget them if they suddenly failed. He was not obsessed with gold or glory, but only with the secret knowledge of all these ancients. He firmly believed that the mysterious place Z was the master key to the history of humanity itself. For them, time had officially begun its countdown. Soon, civilization would be left behind. The path lay through the dangerous jungles of Mato Grosso. The great terra incognita awaited its heroes. Each of them understood perfectly well that this was their dangerous ticket to only one faraway destination. Newspapers loudly trumpeted the adventure of the century. The entire world watched them with utmost attention. But deep down, Fawcett remained utterly alone in this fanatical belief. It seemed to him that this city itself was calling him across many thousands of these difficult and long miles. First the long train, then the fast horses, and then only this frightening, echoing silence. The animals sensed mortal danger first. The forest looked at them from the darkness. He resolutely cast off the shackles of civilization, layer by layer. Now he had become part of this wilderness. Sleep quickly turned into terrible torture even before they began their most difficult journey. Constant thirst would become their faithful companion. Every drop of water was worth more than gold. Having left the past behind forever, he finally stepped into eternity. There was no turning back. Now only this green hell awaited them. Ahead lay only utter uncertainty and darkness. From the very first miles, the treacherous jungle began to test each of them for strength and willpower. Literally every new step turned into a painful struggle against the sucking, rotting swamp. Thousands of tiny insects stung through their thick clothing, giving them no rest for a second. Powerful torrential rains instantly transformed the dry ground into a continuous, turbulent torrent of water. Poor Raleigh's legs were riddled with ulcers, but he continued forward despite the pain. Dirty water was everywhere, but drinking it was impossible without the grave risk of swift death. The dense vegetation was so thick that the bright sun never reached the ground. Dangerous parasites became part of their bodies, greedily sucking the last of their strength. A terrible tropical fever began to cloud the minds of even the most steadfast colonel. A small fire was their only salvation from the night cold and the wild forest animals. Their steel weapons required constant maintenance, otherwise the jungle would quickly consume them too. From the murky water, those who patiently awaited their every mistake watched them closely. Important instruments began to malfunction. All familiar landmarks disappeared completely from view. Soon they lost their last horses. Now they had to carry all their belongings on their backs. Young Jack tried his best not to show his father how ill he truly was. The meager food spoiled instantly. Constant hunger became their eternal and inseparable shadow. At night, the gloomy forest came alive, filled with sounds that simply froze the blood. Even minor scratches turned into deep, rotting wounds in just one night. Each new morning began with the unbearable pain of an endlessly heavy old burden. All the rivers teemed with imminent death, hidden beneath the deceptively calm surface of the water. The short entries in the travel diary grew more laconic and gloomy with each passing day. The path was blocked by tree trunks, which had to be avoided for hours on end. The local beauty here was only a bright mask for the constant, mortal danger. The crossings exhausted the last of their strength, threatening to carry all their valuable equipment downstream. They treasured the heavy ammunition more than gold. This was their last real chance. The foul fumes of the jungle evoked visions. The boundaries of reality gradually blurred. Even the smallest inhabitants of this forest were extremely hostile to strangers. Sometimes they found strange traces of those who had lived in these wild places long before them. Sudden death could come from above, completely silent and instantaneous. Raleigh could no longer continue. This was the very first and most critical blow. Now Fawcett faced a choice: abandon his friend or inevitably perish together. But the stern colonel didn't abandon his people. At least, that's how it was then. They stubbornly moved north, guided only by intuition and a single old map. They began to be closely watched by someone invisible and very deadly. The dead silence in the jungle was far more frightening than the loudest and most furious scream. The faces of loved ones began to fade from memory, replaced by endless greenery all around. The mountains ahead promised answers, but they still had to somehow survive in this hell to get them. The alien rhythms of distant drums invariably accompanied all their disturbing dreams. Dead Horse Camp, the last point from which word of them had reached the world of the living. After Dead Horse Camp, traces of the expedition simply disappeared into the thick fog. Officially, they were missing in action, but the jungle began to give birth to frightening legends. The first version states that the Kalapalo tribe killed them for disrespecting their ancient borders. The Indians reported seeing white people who had traveled far to the east, but not a single body, not a single piece of clothing was ever found. Fawcett believed that City Z was protected by Atlantean magic or technology. Critics believed the colonel had simply gone mad from thirst and heat. There's a theory that he found a portal to another dimension or a hidden world. His family received messages from mediums and psychics for decades. Some believed that Fawcett became the high priest of the lost city. He didn't want to be found. He wanted to remain a part of his discovery. A century later, technology has confirmed that enormous cities are indeed hidden in the Amazon. In the 1930s, rumors circulated of a white king of the jungle, remarkably similar to Percy. Mystics claimed that Fawcett had discovered knowledge humanity was not yet ready to accept. Dozens of rescue expeditions perished in the search for the colonel, increasing the death toll. What if his son Jack had not died, but had founded a new dynasty? City Z could have been flooded or hidden beneath the surface of great rivers. Locals believe the souls of explorers have inhabited the great predators of the forest. Fawcett left behind signs that are understandable only to those willing to go all the way. Time flows differently in those places. For them, only seconds could pass. Fawcett's obsession may not have been a goal, but a curse of sorts. Anyone who approached the mystery encountered an inexplicable fear. The laws of physics in the heart of Mato Grosso seemed to cease to apply. Was this Fawcett, seen by hunters 20 years after his disappearance? He abandoned everything earthly for something that cannot be measured in money. The Amazon has a way of driving one mad, turning trees into nightmares. Perhaps they have become part of the very architecture of this cursed place. The ancient gods of the jungle may have taken them as tribute. Every investigation comes up against a blank wall of greenery and silence. Rain washes away the truth, leaving only guesses and empty theories. The music of this forest sounds like a requiem for all lost souls. Fawcett sought the Atlanteans, but he found something far more ancient. His notes break off at the most interesting point, as if someone had ripped out the ending. The colonel's spirit still wanders among these vines, guarding its path. Violence is futile here. The jungle absorbs steel and turns it to dust. City Z is not just a place. It is a trap for the mind. The rules of our world do not apply here. Eternity reigns here. They were not alone that last night by the fire. Even today, the Amazon knows how to keep its secrets from prying eyes. A century later, the Amazon no longer seems so impenetrable, but its mysteries have only deepened. Modern science has begun to discover what no one believed in Fawcett's time. LiDAR technology has revealed vast settlements capable of feeding millions are hidden beneath these trees. The colonel wasn't mad, he simply saw what others refused to notice. Today, his name has become a symbol of inexhaustible human curiosity. His image inspired the creators of Indiana Jones and hundreds of adventure novels. But the most precious prize was never brought to London. It remained there, in the shade of the vines. The legend of the city of Z continues to give birth to new dreamers and explorers. Nature always takes its toll, absorbing cities and people, turning them into part of itself. We have learned to see through the earth, but we still do not understand the motives of the human heart. Fawcett searched the past to understand our future. What will we leave behind? Perhaps his expedition is a reminder that not everything in this world is meant to be found. The heirs of those lands remember stories of white men who sought light in the shadows. The search is over for them, but for us, it is only just beginning. The Amazon is silent, safely guarding the peace of those who entrusted their lives to it. The story of Percy Fawcett is not about death, it is about the immortality of an idea. He went where maps have no meaning, into eternity. Life goes on, growing through metal and memory. And the city of Z? Perhaps it was always within us, like a dream of something greater. Find your city of Z, and don't be afraid to get lost.